What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Game 3 review, the series review. Before we get into it, the green and gold next Monday, 6 p.m. We've got the spray jackets dropping, we've got the hoodies dropping, and we've got the shirts dropping as well. Plus, we've also got the hats dropping. That is 6 p.m. Monday. The Olympics are up. It is Get Around Your Country, the famous green and gold. The Olympics start next week, so it's Monday, 6 p.m. Also, don't forget, we're giving away two $500 prizes, $500 cash prizes. All you got to do is you go in the draw by going to in the show notes. There'll be a link. Fill out a quick survey. It takes maybe 2.5 minutes, and you have a chance to win $500 cash. We're giving $1,000 away in total. So go to the show notes, click the links, do the survey, and you got a chance to win $500 cash. Let's get it. Oh, and the review is brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Mitchy Pearce, after that win, how you feeling, brother?
Go the Blues!
What a game!
Boys. What a game.
What a game!
So much anticipation, wasn't there, coming in after the huge win from New South Wales after we spoke here in Game 2. But, yeah, credit to Queensland. That was one of the toughest origins I've ever seen, physically.
Yeah.
I thought even early in the game, as physical as Queensland were, I thought we had the upper hand.
Hanging on, really.
Yeah, just our size and power in the middle, and it eventually got us home, didn't it?
Mate, incredible game of rugby league. Like, genuinely one of the best games of rugby league I watched. The standard of rugby league. Both teams showing grit, both teams looking out on their feet, hanging on, and then eventually New South Wales break Queensland. Timmy, how you feeling, mate?
I'm so happy. I'm just like, I was dreading the thought of having to do this if we got done and like sit here for an hour and a half, listen to you and listen to Hammy. I've always looked back on when Joey Johns copped stick when they got done in a series and he was like filthy after. I'm like, if I ever had that job and had to do it, that'd be me. And I was like, it was nilly tonight. But mate, like, order has been restored in the world. This Queensland just get Origin shit. They can shove it up there, you know. I'm so happy.
Mate, absolutely incredible. What a famous victory for New South Wales. What is it, 19 years since they've gone up to Suncorp to get the job. And also what I loved about New South Wales' performance.
Years.
Yeah, 2005, last one. 19 years. That's the last time they've beat Brisbane in Suncorp in a decider. And what I loved about New South Wales' performance, it was the patience. It was the belief in the systems. And the key for their victory for me personally was Madge had a plan from the start. It was a big, aggressive side. Yes, were they that creative? As creative as maybe Queensland in attacking footy? Maybe not. But they trusted that if we have enough field position and we keep them down their end long enough, they'll fatigue and we will break them. And that's what came to fruition in the end. Eventually, Queensland gassed and they broke them. Queenslander, how you feeling? Well, as a what would we say?
I'm a Queenslander.
Queenslander?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hurting for a minute there, but Kevy, as you quite rightly pointed out in the green room, I think at full strength Queensland walked that in. It's good for the game. Was it getting a bit boring, Queensland winning 2 series in a row? And at the end of the day, we're still Queenslanders. So
that is confirmed.
Go to bed at night.
Just checked. Still a Queenslander.
Still a Queenslander. So don't panic. But hell of a game, very tough game. One of the closest, just like on a knife's edge for 65-minute games I've basically ever seen. But New South Wales too good.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, where do you think that Michael Maguire, this is what he envisioned? Like, if he envisioned how he's going to get it done, it's going to be in a decider so grindy? Or what do you reckon he was envisioning going into Game 3?
How you thought the game was going to play out?
Yeah, so like, for example, do you reckon he had an inkling that with the side he selected, for example, Mitch Barnett, a very specific middle forward that can play edge as well, he ended up spending quite a few minutes on the edge there. Do you reckon even Michael Maguire envisioned it being such a grind? Like, because I can't remember the last time I watched a game where it was 2-0 going in at half time.
I think he would have envisioned it. You just spoke about the last win being 2005. So the proof's in the pudding of the task it is to win up there for New South Wales. Plenty of great sides have gone up there over the last 15, 20 years and haven't been able to get the job done with some of our best ever players. So Madge would have been well and truly clear of what the task was, even after the huge win in Game 2. But credit to Madge. Like, he's been an old player. I know he's tried to get the old players involved. He's stripped right back to all the history, and I thought he's played the whole series really well. It's his first go at it, and I thought he's led from the front, unbelievable. He picked a great team. Even you spoke about the bench today with Barney coming onto the bench. Mitch Barnett, I'm so happy for him, great mate of mine. And it was a perfect ploy. Barney can cover edge and middle. Injury comes down early in the game with the concussion. Mitchie comes straight on. So it was great coaching.
Yeah. I thought also his patience with Connor Watson. It would have been very tempting when there was this grind to get someone on like Connor Watson to try to break the game open. So patient, waited till the 63rd or 4th minute. And when Connor Watson came on, he was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, he was, and we sort of sat here watching the game, and the Blues looked gassed at about the 55, 60-minute mark, and I said, you've got to get him out there. I thought at the time they probably brought him on 10 minutes too late, but the proof's in the pudding that he came on and we scored 2 tries after that, and I thought we beat you at your own game and what's made the Maroons so successful for a long time. And don't get me wrong, different eras, different teams, different players, you pick their style of footy to suit that. And in recent years with blokes like Latrell Mitchell, James Tedesco, Tom Trebojevic, we have such this expansive attacking footy outfit that we've used the footy against a Maroon side who have come into series as underdogs, and they've been toilers, and they get in the grind, they get in the arm wrestle, they complete high, and they just don't give an inch. Eventually the game's broken open late for them in previous years. This year, the Maroons went all out attack, not all out attack, but a very attacking side with obviously Walsh, with Ponga off the bench, different sort of selections there. The Blues just hung in the grind the whole time, and it did the same thing. It burst open late in the game, and I think Madge picked a very fitness-oriented side. A lot of blokes went big minutes in that. As I said, we didn't have injuries through the game or anything. We were able to bring on Connor Watson with 15 to go. We had a 4-forward bench and did the job.
Mate, absolutely incredible from New South Wales. And
sorry, just update. Dylan Edwards got man of the match.
Okay.
Angus Crichton, Wally Lewis medal.
Angus.
Okay, wow.
Yes.
Well deserved. And Dylan Edwards, talk about toiler. The fitness that he showed, and just the repeat effort after repeat effort after repeat effort. Look, I thought it was outstanding from New South Wales. I think there was about a 50 to 60 minute mark where if Queensland had scored, I reckon that is where it could have swung. That was the swing moment. And what happened? Basically, New South Wales somehow, some way hung on, and then Jerome Luai, talk about turning from villain to hero. Such a polarising player. But without Jerome Luai, you don't win the game. He's the one. His play on deny with the ball on the deck, broken play, line break, pass to Bradman Best, they score. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, well, as you just said, it was neck and neck till that point. Obviously, just all penalty goals. And then, Jerome, as we said, I think after the wrap-up of Game 2, he's won 3 comps and he's won a few series now. His record speaks for itself, and he just continually turns up in big moments. Underestimatedly as well. People just keep not giving him the credit he deserves.
Absolutely.
But he's a big moment, big game player, and it was the halves in the end with Mitch Moses obviously scoring that late try. So the halves had their hands on what was probably one of the toughest games in years, and they came up when it mattered. They stood up when it mattered, which was so impressive as an old half. To do that at Suncorp, that's not easy.
Mate, Mitchy Moses slicing through to seal the game.
Mate,
unbelievable.
The moment of the series, it's just going to be. I mean, the Sully, it'll be remembered for a long time. But to that Jerome Luai line break for that try to Bradman Best,
incredible.
It's a pass too, wasn't it?
Yeah, when the game was on the knife's edge, it fell in the hands of Jerome Luai, who we say it all the time on the Bloke podcast, and we say the bloke just knows how to win. We saw him stirring up the crowd after it, waving to him, saying bye-bye, whatever it was. He just gets it done. And all this stuff of, does he need Nathan Cleary there to win? He's been there by his side for every victory that he's had. Clearly he doesn't.
You know what it was? It was very Munster-esque.
Yeah.
The game was on the line, and he stood up and he made it happen. He just made it happen. Just incredible.
And it was at a point as well where, as I said, the Blues looked a little bit gassed. It was Connor Watson had been on for all of about a minute and a half, I think. Angus Crichton, who was just absolutely superb this series, his turnaround in the space of 12 months is pretty mesmerising, to be honest. And his offload was just killer for them. He had 4 or 5 offloads in this game, and all of them were very effective. It was him to Watson. Watson got the offload to Jerome Luai. There still wasn't a lot on. Just went bang, bang, caught Nanai napping. The way he held the ball up, slowed down the play to wait for Best to get there, it was just...
Didn't let the moment swallow him up. He just stayed calm.
To sum that up, with the series on the line, lost the last 2 series on the trot, It's unbelievable.
It's this is a famous victory for New South Wales, in my opinion. Like to go up to Suncorp, and also like it'd be one thing if you went up and you defeated a Queensland side that just didn't turn up. Like this Queensland side turned up. Like they were there and played a high quality brand of footy, especially in defence. Like I think that Queensland defensive effort for 60 minutes or so, probably the best I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. Now here's some stats from the game, guys. So Queensland 82% completion. New South Wales, 80%. Possession, 57% to New South Wales. Run meters, New South Wales ran for 500 more meters than Queensland.
There it is, eh?
Post-contact, 100 and about 30 more meters post-contact. 4 line breaks to 2. Tackle breaks, 46 to 38. Here's another key indicator. Average set distance. New South Wales averaged 5 meters more, about 4 meters more per set. Kick return. This is another key one. You know, you look at Reece Walsh and you go, electric, lightning, great ball playing. But when it comes to kick returns, Dylan Edwards is the king of that. Brian To'o Lomax is the king of that. Kick return meters, 289 to New South Wales, 130 to Queensland. Interestingly, and this is why I feel that New South Wales were getting quite gassed and there was an opportunity for Queensland to win the game. Average play the ball speed, New South Wales 4:09 seconds, Queensland 3.6 seconds. And I think the big fellas in the New South Wales pack were starting to feel it. But that's life. Steps up, breaks the game open. They get a second wind. Incredible. In regards to offloads, it was 18-8. Incredible.
One of the big ones I noticed as well is just the tackles, the number of tackles. So Queensland had to make 432 tackles, New South Wales 323. So Queensland made 100 more tackles than New South Wales over the course of the game. I think that probably showed at the end. Kind of they were pretty worn out, and
discipline also hurt Queensland. So it was penalty count all up. It was 14-8. 14-8.
Bloody Klein, eh?
I don't think I can't find it on the app, but the other telling stat could be just time in opposition half. I know at half time the coverage had tackled in opposition 20. It was Blues 20-2 or something.
Yep.
And
20-2.
Yeah, remarkable.
22-3 might have been.
22-3.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have changed a hell of a lot in the
drastically
second half.
But I think, look, that 14-8 penalty count. So it's 9 penalties conceded by Queensland and 5 ruck infringements compared to 6 for New South Wales and 2 ruck infringements. That's huge. I mean, that's nearly double. But as I said, incredible stuff. Ineffective tackles, 29 to just 11 from New South Wales. That's great defence. Hearing those stats, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, the 500 metres and the back three. In big games, you need to win. You need to win the middle, and you need to win your back three. And I think the impressive thing from the fullbacks there of New South Wales, we got the measure there, no doubt. I think the play the ball speed was interesting. The 3 seconds to 4 seconds with the limited meters that Queensland were gaining was quite interesting. It's pretty good from Queensland to be playing the ball that fast with a smaller pack. But the possession as well. As you just touched on, the possession in inside 20, that just takes its toll in big games, doesn't it? And I thought Queensland hung on, they forced some errors. There was a tackle there from Dearden early on Martin, which was a huge one. It was off the back of, I think, 2 restarts for us, which was a big moment for Queensland there to sort of hold us out. But you can only hold an avalanche for so... Is that what you...
Avalanche.
Avalanche. A tidal wave, you can only hold it for so long. You can only hold that momentum for so long. And Queensland held the brick wall up for as long as they could. But, yeah, look, those stats... And I think if you looked over the series, it takes its toll. Like those stats, we won possession and field position and metres gained probably over Queensland throughout the whole series. And eventually you get the rewards.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the big moment.
Just before it, the one about stats and the errors, 11 Blues, Queensland 7. That looks bad, and you go 11 errors, so that's a lot for an Origin game. Probably shouldn't be doing that. And again, we're coming fresh off the bat here, haven't rewatched the game. I felt like just about every one of them was in their end. Like, we didn't turn over much ball coming out of our own end and present you with opportunities. Hence the stats around time in opposition 20 and time in opposition half. We turned it over in the right place, having a crack.
Yeah.
Whereas
Well, we
Queensland a
didn't-
few
That's where you give it
times
away,
did
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah.
We weren't camped down your end at all,
No.
like literally at all, which is what you'd want with such a good attacking side. All right, let's talk about the big moments. Obviously, 2 blokes went to the bin. Nanai for Queensland, Murray for New South Wales. Look, yes, it's 1 for 1. I thought that was so silly. Don't sin bin anyone. Let the boys sort it out. No one punched. That's why we watch Origin. I don't understand why it needed to happen. No punches were thrown. If you have to give a penalty, give a penalty. But outside of that, I thought it was really silly. I'm glad that Murray didn't get sent fully off, which he in a club game he would have, having come from the bench and getting involved. But I am glad that didn't happen, because that would have killed me. That would have been just craziness if that would happen. Olakau'atu, he was also ejected from the game. He had to watch the game from the sheds because he come off the bench.
In his bag of fruit as well. Full suit. Unbelievable.
So
Is that a true story?
yeah, he got ejected.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because a few of him and Murray, they were on the bench when the brouhaha
And
happened.
he's jumped in.
Had
And
to
he's-
watch the rest in the change room.
in the change room. So as I said, look, the 10 in the bin, I wish they didn't do it, but I also am glad that Murray didn't get sent, coming off the bench into a bit of a push and shove.
Yeah, look, Ashley Klein's always going to come up with something like that.
yeah.
He's obviously... he does it, he likes that. That's just what he does. He's obviously bringing plenty to the game as a ref, if you can say that. But it's obviously... you could tell he was going to do it as soon as he brought the 2 captains in. But yeah, it's laughable. There was no punches thrown.
What's the point?
If anything, it makes the game more entertaining. And but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm glad that he sent a player from each team off so that we didn't get
absolutely.
the similar situation to game 1.
It was funny though, because so Murray gets sent 10 in the bin, and Isaiah Yeo kind of says to Ashley Klein, like, he's not on the field, but you could tell Yeo didn't want to say that he wasn't on the field. So that just Barnett had to go to the
It
bench.
was 10 and a half minutes by the time he walked on and then went back off. He got a disadvantage, didn't he? He had
Yeah,
to walk
mate.
100 metres to get sent off again. Coming
mate,
off the bench.
So look, it is what it is. It didn't ruin the game, thank God, but at the same time, I didn't think it was necessary.
It didn't ruin the game, and I hate sin bins in Origin. I hate send-offs in Origin. Obviously, there's exceptions, but I'm just like, it's such a spectacle. Just don't ruin the game. Nanai got sin bin for, I still haven't seen
I don't even
what.
know.
I still don't know what. So we haven't seen it yet. So he's gone, which I think was ridiculous. Cam Murray... I am Cam Murray's biggest fan on the planet. I like him more than his missus does. But you cannot go from your bench while there's a scuffle on field, even if it's spilled over, and run off. Like, that is cardinal sin number 1 in sport.
Yeah.
Not just rugby league, not just State of Origin, not NRL. You can't do it. So he deserved 10 in the bin, or whatever they end up adjudicating from it, for doing that. I'm very glad it wasn't a send-off, because I think at NRL level it probably would have been.
Oh, definitely would have been in NRL level.
It would have
holy.
just, like...
Send off, you reckon?
Yeah,
Coming
you
from the
can't
bench?
do it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Because Murray was on the bench when he jumped in.
Yeah.
But
Whatever,
I'm glad with you. I'm so glad that he didn't get sent off.
Like,
That
can you
would've
imagine if the Blues
Oh.
went on to lose 2 games of series from
Nah.
send-offs? You'd sit there going,
Right, no way.
to their own doing, to be fair, but
Whatever Nana must have done must have been bad, because you guys got the penalty out of it. So,
yeah, because Ches was
Yeah.
carrying on like a pork chop, mate.
unbelievable.
It seems like Nanai was third man in. Was third man in.
To the scuffle.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Seriously.
As I said, lucky didn't ruin the game, didn't ruin the contest, and it didn't have effect on the result. Let's talk about some performances. I want to talk about Angus Crichton, first of all. The level he has taken his game to, this is how crazy it is. This bloke was about to go to rugby union and it fell through earlier this year. That's how close we were to losing this bloke to another game.
He was playing reserve grade. So
In Rezzies. And now we're sitting here going, he just won a Wally Lewis medal. Like, that is an incredible turnaround. Think about how far this bloke's come with all the mental health stuff he's had to deal with. And not only the actual mental health stuff he's had to deal with, it's the media around the mental health stuff, the mistruths and all that kind of stuff. Then to turn it around and win Man of the Series in an Origin that'll go down in history, it's an incredible feat from Angus Crichton.
Yeah, well, it's one of the great stories of rugby league of the last 10 years, just even in sport, for a player that's gone from rock bottom, well publicised. I saw him do a really good story on, I think it was Channel 9 the other night. He got a bit emotional and he spoke about his setbacks and the amount of kids that he would have inspired that are going through similar things, watching. He inspired me.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
to come from that sort of setback, have his position questioned at the Roosters, obviously the talk around Fafita coming to the club, and then to not only just come back into Origin, play probably some of the best footy we've ever seen from a back rower in Origin, making it personal, and then to get the Wally Lewis medal. It's probably the story of the year in sport, in my opinion.
Incredible.
I mean, in all sports. I know we've got the Olympics coming up.
Yeah.
But to what he's done and where he's come from, and probably people that have been around him and seen how rock bottom he was. What a story.
Well, he was, 12 months ago, or maybe a little bit longer, he was in a psychiatric ward. And he talked about that. He talked about being in over in Europe. And now he's in the pinnacle of our game, winning Man of the Series. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's one of the great stories and comebacks in Australian sport. I did a story on Angus Crichton at the Telegraph when I was working there in the younger days, and he went to school at Scots College. He's from Temora, I believe, Temora Young, around there. And he became, when he was like year 11 or 12, really good mates with two of the year 7 Indigenous boys from Arnhem Land, up Darwin, up around that area, north of Australia. And blokes in their off-season footy players, they go to Europe, party, Yahoo, do all that, well earned also. I don't know if it was a couple of times or whatever, but he used to go up there and go to Arnhem Land and spend time with them and spend time with the communities. So to see a bloke who's gone through a rough trot and do this in his off-season, clearly a good fella, come back from being on the brink of ending his footy career to doing that and win the Wally Lewis medal, to doing the fashion that he did, it's one of the great Australian sporting stories, not just rugby league.
It's amazing, and the way he played with the physicality. Every time he ran the ball, he was a problem. I thought Queensland did a much better job in Game 3 than they did Game 2, but at the same time, like, he was still constantly. I mean, first run of the game, bumps Dan Gagai, gets an offload. You guys make a line break. Just
on top of that, looking back at it, I was like, he's bumped and sort of throwing out the back. He had 2 blokes on him, and he still got that ball away and went for it in the first set of the game. Incredible. He had 6 offloads.
Yeah,
He's the perfect body type for a back rower, isn't he? He's got everything to his game, physicality, makes it personal. It's all the defensive efforts too, isn't it? Like his kick pressures and his ability to pressure a half just on big short sides and all those little things he does is extreme. And we spoke about it last week. His leader, obviously, when he went to the Roosters, Boyd Cordner, was probably the last we've seen at that relentless pursuit of going after the opposition half and the way he just constantly finds his front. There's no one like him in the game at the moment. And he plays long, big minutes, and he's involved in everything.
And he won the series. He was off for 15 minutes in Game 3 as well. And he still won Player of the Series. So an amazing story from Angus Crichton.
How's this for a stat? In 65 minutes, he had 13 tackles. How weird is that?
I mean, it just shows you how dominant New South Wales were. Like,
Spot set.
Yeah.
Stay away. You know what? You don't want to be running at him. That's probably why. Go to the other side. So look, Angus Crichton, what an inspiration for anyone that's going through something tough right now, whether it's mental health or whatever it is. You can find your way back to, even better than where you were before. So good from Angus Crichton. I want to talk about Jerome Luai though, because he's a guy that has just been so polarising for so many fans, and now he has just made the big play that has won New South Wales a historic win up in Brisbane in a decider, the first time in 19 years. Obviously I'm not saying that it's as good as a Joey John performance 2004. I'm not saying that at all. But it is a moment in Suncorp to win a series decider like that. That goes down in history. 19 years. What a turnaround for him as well. And surely there's a lot of New South Welshmen that, begrudgingly, when they watch him play for Penrith, they dislike him, but begrudgingly are turning around to Luai going, you know what? You might be a little bit rogue, you might be a little bit polarising, but you're our rogue. You're our rogue that gets the job done.
Yeah, well, you hope he's got 1 million fans now. We just keep saying it every week. No, he just keeps delivering in big moments, in big games. His little man cave now has got about two Origin series and 3 grand finals, and he could retire tomorrow being a happy boy. So, with all that he's done in the game, and I think I don't know Jerome, but I think he sort of enjoys people being against him. It's all part of his persona, I reckon. It's probably what gets him going. A bit like what Latrell approaches footy in a way. Those sort of players world against him mentality, and he just keeps delivering. And as you said, it goes unassumed. It's all the little things he does too. You know, that running game, he's always constantly probing back at the ruck. His short kicking game's underrated. He can build pressure. He come up with a great kick in the first half today where we forced a restart, where Walsh actually I thought went out.
His
Kick chase, and then we obviously got the restart the next one. But all those little moments go underestimated. He doesn't get the credit for that. So it's not just the Larry play; it's all the little things he does too. That left foot kick down that 30-metre corridor is so underrated in big games.
Mate, the amount of times too when plays break down, it's looking like it's going to be a negative play for New South Wales, and he'll turn it into a positive just with his footwork, stepping back inside, finding extra pass. I think there was a couple of times where DC would shoot up and Luai would go back inside and he would pass it to Moses, and Moses would get a good kick towards Zach Lomax. And it's all those little things that, you know, what a year for Luai. Like, what a year for Luai.
He's our Cameron Munster now, isn't he?
He has to be,
He's polarising. You know, he's happy to play up to the fans. He's happy to put himself out there, but he delivers. And I'm just so happy for him. Like, whether he gave a shit about it or not, I don't know. But there was always this: he needs Nathan Cleary. He's proven now in a World Cup final with Samoa, even this year in recent games without Nathan Cleary playing as a dominant half, and now back-to-back Origin match wins, and even quite a good game in game one. He's proven he's not relying on Nathan Cleary. And without going ahead to next year in rugby league, I'm so excited for that because he's shown that he can be the man.
Well, you mentioned next year, he's only just getting started. Kickstart that Tigers dynasty as well. So plenty to look forward to for Jerome Luai.
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, what an incredible performance from Luai. And it hasn't just been one game too. Luai's been good. Game 1, 2, and 3, and he's probably been he's definitely been in your top 5 of the whole series. And this is coming from, as you know, we've just mentioned, a guy that a lot of people say he's nothing without Cleary. He's been in your top 5 in a historic series win, and also came up with the big play to win the series at Suncorp. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Who else stood out for you, Mitchie, in the blue side?
I thought Bradman Best was really good. I thought Bradman was underestimated. He's probably not the one that's been talked about a whole lot playing up there at Newcastle this year. He came up with a couple of errors, Brady, early, but yeah, look, that try he scored, we keep talking about Jerome, but he had a lot of work to do there.
Yeah.
He fended off Gagai there, bumped over the fullback with the last line of defence to score. Came up with some big moments, and Stephen Crichton's my man. I love him.
So good defensively.
Just defensively, as you said. He got asked, once again, he got a lot of questions asked of him. But he's just, like what he's done at the Bulldogs, like what he did at Penrith, he's just a winner. And those guys, with his presence out there and just the influence that he has, I'm sure, on all the players around him, he's that guy when you're in the sheds, even though he's young, you're looking at him going, you know, Crichton's in my team, we're winning.
Yeah.
And his record speaks for itself. So, yeah, your big games are won with big outside backs. And Bradman stood in for Latrell, which we thought might have been a loss, and I thought Brady was huge, and then obviously Crichton again.
And don't forget, guys, Monday, 6 p.m, the green and gold drop. The Olympics have arrived. Support your country. Get around your country. We've got the spray jackets. We've got the hoodies. These are the last hoodies that we're dropping for a whole year. So if you want a bloke hoodie, this is the one you get. And we got the bloke tees and the bloke hats return. Who stood out for you, mate?
Yeah, look, we mentioned the Jerome Luai getting the Cleary monkey off his back and dispelling that myth. Payne Haas in State of Origin.
Ooh.
And you look at the stats, and a bloke who normally just pads the stat sheet, 110 metres. This will update. They go back, they redo the game, and they'll update the game. So I dare say those metres are going to increase, but he was tremendous. 30
tackles, 0 misses.
So how's this?
No way.
He was 30 tackles, 0
No misses.
No misses
He
in
was
Origin.
30 and 0. Isaiah Yeo, 28 and 0. Mitch Barnett on debut, 30 and 0.
Incredible.
But mate, Payne Haas, again, put the 110 metres aside. I'm sure he ran for more than that, but I thought he was outstanding. The speed of his play, the ball, his ability to get in between defenders, to play big minutes in a game of that intensity. That's his Origin series. And you know what? He'll have better ones, but he'll still tremendous.
I think that this series has cemented him as an Origin, like a dominant Origin player.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, I'm not talking about like career-wise or legacy. I'm more talking about, I think the last couple of years, you've said he's good enough to play Origin, but is he an out-and-out origin player? And I think this year has cemented him as that. And I've got to admit, like, I felt like Paddy and Cotter really went after it. Like, the speed of the game was quick, and that's one thing where Payne Haas, being such a big body, sometimes struggles laterally, sometimes struggles with the line speed, but he just held on, and, mate, I agree.
You know what it is, though? He does it effortlessly, and it's the body he's being given, you know. And as you just said, they're Carrigan and that went after him, but it takes so much, just that little bit more effort for these guys to go after him.
Yep.
And over the course of 80 minutes, he gets ahead because of his size, because of his fitness and his durability and his ability to find his front.
Yeah.
Yeah, the opposition can tee off on him, but over the course of 80 minutes, and because he plays such big minutes, he just has that edge, doesn't he? And like all the great middles, he has the edge through his size and his athleticism.
And you say how like they go after him, but he keeps coming and he keeps coming. They did go after him, and they did the same to Angus Crichton. Like, there was a shot where Lindsay Collins flew off the line. He had great contact on Crichton because he's so strong up top. He's got the strongest core of all time, and he had the leg speed. He just kept going. He, like, bumped Collins off, and it was a decent shot as if nothing had happened, and kept going and pushing through the line, got the quick play of the ball. They're monsters.
It's amazing. And as you just said, Mitchie, like, you might be able to do it for 50 minutes, for 60 minutes, but eventually it's like overwhelming because he's just going to keep turning up, keep rocking up, and eventually you're going to run out of steam, or there's going to be that quick play of the ball, or your contact's not going to be in the right area. Payne Haas, he was
He's a perfect play one middle, isn't he?
Oh, mate.
You just whether you're coming off your own line or you want to quick play the ball in good ball, like, he's your man.
Incredible. What do you reckon about the big fella?
Yeah, unbelievable. Great series, great game tonight. Obviously, that unbelievable that he didn't miss a tackle in an Origin side out at Suncorp. Just crazy. A player that stood out for me, probably right through the whole series, but I thought he was great again tonight, was Zach Climax. Obviously, a friend of the show. He was just a target all night. They kept going. Mitch Moses kept kicking to him, and we saw obviously in Melbourne he had a bit of success there. So Queensland had to change things up tonight. They got penalised once or twice. And then he, when he took the penalty, moved it back, and it was basically a sideline conversion. He went,
Nailed
no
it.
worries, and he was just clutch with the boot all night off the tee.
From both sides.
Didn't miss anything. And then the other little play that he had was when Reece Walsh got away, got ankle tapped by Mitch Moses. Then he got up.
That was almost a game-defining play.
And Lomax timed it just so that he got him, put him over the touchline. That was such a huge moment to keep Queensland down that end and get the Blues another set down there. I thought he's been outstanding, and I think probably cemented his spot there.
And those little moments I felt like New South Wales won. Like Mitchell Moses tackling Reece Walsh, Lomax making a smart play and waiting till Moses is off, and then the tackle's not complete, taking Walsh out. And on the flip side, silly play from Walsh. Like, you got to just stay on the ground, man, and the tackle's completed. And then earlier in the thing where Luai put that kick in, Selwyn Cobbo takes the hit up, and he's upright on his own try line instead of getting low. Like, all those little moments that Queensland are usually really, really clinical at. It was New South Wales that were clinical at in Game 3.
And talk about sliding doors moments in that game, that one that you've just said, Hammy, it's like, firstly for Mitch Moses to run down Reece Walsh, one of the absolute elite speedsters of the game, that was a remarkable tackle. But it's hard. It was like a minor brain explosion from Reece Walsh to get back up. But at the same time, like, okay, he fell off and he thought, I'll get up, I'll go again. Should have stayed down in hindsight. But also for Zach Lomax to be like, he sees him on the ground there, 9 out of 10 players just jump on him and goes, no, he's going to get up and I'm going to wait. To do that in the heat of battle in the moment, real sliding doors moment in that game.
Smart. I think, Reece Walsh, though, like, as an outside back,
Yeah.
If you're close to the sideline,
down.
you just lie there. You don't even think about getting up.
That's pressure, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pressure does that to you. I've been on the back end of series losses, and we used to come up with erratic moments like that because the tidal wave of pressure mounts on you. And I think New South Wales it's a bit of a changing of the guard. I think because we trust our team, we trust our pack, we sort of trust for once what we've got to offer over the opposition. I think we know if we go for 80 minutes, we got the arsenal to win. And that heats pressure. I think Queensland have got doubt to play for 80 minutes this series, and those little moments under pressure, you go against what's the right thing to do sometimes, don't you?
Okay, let's talk about the great Mitchy Moses. What a journey he's been on. like 5 years ago, if you had said Mitchell Moses is an Origin 7, you wouldn't have been laughed out of the room, but it would have been like, mate, he's great at club, but he's not made for Origin. And he has just brick by brick built himself up and rounded out his game, especially his defence, and also his mental fortitude in these big moments. And now, all of a sudden, he's an Origin halfback with a decisive play to seal games and a series winner.
Yeah, first, congratulations to Mitch. Always had big raps on him as a player, enjoyed playing against him. But you just said it. His growth has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Through his career, he's built and he's built. And he obviously got to a grand final 2 years ago, was it, with Parramatta? But this was his big opportunity. He got the opportunity with Nathan being out, and he's just honestly just grabbed it.
Yeah.
Like the great ones, really. And that try at the end there, like his whole game was really neat tonight. His kicking game, which it always is, like the depth of his kicking game was
He
great.
outkicked DC, in my opinion,
For sure.
tonight.
The timing on those 30, 40 metre little bomb kicks, he had them on point all game. And then, like all the great sevens, to ice that moment, pick his moment to run and then score was pretty impressive, really.
Yeah. I mentioned it, I think, after game 2, but his long kicking game over the last, I think they said 12 months when we were watching it, this season, it's like he's added 10, 15 metres onto his long kicking game. He's just sending them in for years, and in recent years in particular, an integral factor in Queensland knocking us over has been kicking early in sets off the back of Daly Cherry-Evans' long kicking game. They didn't really do that tonight.
I never thought I'd see DCE get outkicked at Suncorp.
Yeah.
And he got outkicked, in my opinion.
And in his best facet, which is that long kicking game, he just gets him out of jail. Mitchy Moses has done that 2 games in a row for us. DCE had a few ones in around the line where he'd put it up and it was sort of not enough to be a defensive bomb, not enough to be an attacking bomb. It was just sort of in no man's land. And on Mitchy Moses' kicking game, 5 or 6 of those crossfield kicks to Zach Lomax as a target, they were spot on. Credit to the Maroons. They blocked so well to not give him a clean catch.
Maroons literally just said, we'd rather give a penalty away than give Lomax a clean
And if
run
it was
at
an
the ball.
Origin,
Penalty every time.
5 of them were penalties.
Yeah,
it wasn't until they eventually got there, and I think it was Hammer got stopped in the line, just let him through, got in front of him, finally blew one. But they played to the ref, they played to the whistle, and they got away with it, and credit to them, they did a good job.
Yeah, I really think Mitchell Moses outkicked DCE by a substantial margin. I think that his long kicking game was incredible, but it was also just the pinpoint nature of his kicks. Like, they were exactly where they needed to be every single time, and they were so good that even if Lomax didn't land the catch, they were still coming out of literally as far in the corner as they possibly can. And Mitch, as you know, coming out of a corner, it's nightmare stuff. Like, it is genuinely. Whereas if you can move even just 10 metres infield, it just gives you that option of either side of the ruck. Mitchell Moses' kicking game. I'm trying to think of one poor kick that he put up, and I genuinely can't. That's how good it was.
Well, plain and simple, his kicking game won us the series. It's probably the easiest way and the best way to put it. The length of his kicking game, the amount of restarts he got in game 2, a couple of nice kicks again tonight, close to the line, but the length of his kicking game won us the series. We had the pack. We got the players all across the board. We got an outstanding back 3. Without a good kicking game, you don't win. And his kicking game, the length of his kicking game, got us a series and got him, got his legacy and his name to another level.
It's crazy.
He's a big name now as a player.
3 wins on the trot.
Yeah.
I tell you what, this is how good his kicking game was. Is he had 550 kicking metres compared to DCE, and granted he had more kicks than DCE, but think about where DCE was kicking from and where Moses was kicking from most of his kicks. I'd argue that, I reckon, at least 8 of Moses' kicks were attacking kicks in the 40 or at least 20, whereas DCE, he might have had 2 attacking kicks. Every other one was just as booting as far as he could. So that's how long of a kicking game Moses had. They had all the field position, and he still kicked for more meters than DCE did.
He's got the smarts too when he kicks as well, and that's the compliment that Cherry gets. He's got those early kicks on play threes. He feels momentum really well, but Mitch has got that in bucket loads himself. And it's one thing to be able to have the kick and the actual technique, and then the other thing to have the brain to know when to kick.
Yeah.
And he nailed that. And in Origins, that's huge. That's what Cameron Smith and Cooper and Thurston, these guys, did to us for many years. He's manipulated us with their kicking game. And Mitch's, it was the intelligence around his kicking game, when to kick, short and long, that's been the difference.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to be negative Nancy or Debbie Downer. Shout out, Mum. Jake Trbojevic, 23 minutes. I think that do you think that suggests that 23 minutes in game one was probably the plan all along to play that 23 minutes? It's a small amount of minutes for a front row, especially considering you had HIA and 10 in the bin.
It suggests now that it did.
Yeah.
Especially in a game that did turn into a grind, and there were forwards who played long minutes. We know Jake Trbojevic can play long minutes, so 23 minutes is very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's I guess captaincy next year, and look, we're looking way ahead, but I'd argue probably will move heads next year.
It'll go to the lunatic that started getting in a scuffle off the bench.
The great Cam Murray.
Unfortunately, early reports suggest Moses is out for the year.
Yeah.
He's done.
Bicep gone?
Yeah, biceps.
He's done his job.
Yeah.
He's done his job for the Blues. The Eels don't
Ruptured
need him. They're
bicep.
done.
Yeah, ruptured bicep. I tell you what, look, the Eels are done anyway.
It's
Mate, Mitch, you put her up.
Rest up for 2025 Origin.
14-week holiday in Europe.
I thought Critter was incredible in defence. I thought he made errors in attack though. 4 errors, very uncharacteristic of Critter, but he made up for it in defence, I think. And it's almost a reflection of the Bulldogs season where their defence is so good that it can afford to make a few errors here or there. Like in defence, he was that was a real point of difference, I think. Not a point of difference, but I do feel like in past years with New South Wales, your defensive centres, they just tend to not crumble under the pressure, but they're not as sure as Critter and Bradman Best
We've
were.
been fragile on our edges defensively over the last few years.
And I thought you did an incredible job on Reece Walsh and Hammer and all the boys tonight. Because the amount of times where Queensland tried to put their plays on and Critter and Bradman Best just made the right decision every single time got to the edges there.
Yeah, well, it's a credit to the players. It's obviously who you pick and their natural ability in a short preparation, but it's a credit to Madge too, isn't it? He obviously had a system in place. It's obviously not rocket science going into an Origin camp because you've got the best players and a short preparation, but he had them all galvanised. They obviously had a plan to break down Queensland. I think the key, and we spoke about it, to take Cherry out of the game and a player like Walsh, you need a steady line across the board consistently, and they resort to kicks a lot of the time, or they drop blokes off. That's probably the best way to shut Cherry down with his great instincts, and we did that. And I think our 4 men, both our back rowers, like Martin and Crichton, they help the defensive line on those edges more than anyone, and their movement's just top shelf. Martin's a freak.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it. I thought your unsung hero that probably won't get as many raps, Isaiah Yeo. I thought the amount of times he bent the line, he found his front. He had 17 runs for 174 metres, 70 post contact.
Wow.
And he had the most post contact of any player on the field. And I've been singing Isaiah Yeo's praises for a long time. I think he's a front row, and I felt like he played like a front rower. At Clubland he's not a front rower, but I think in Origin he's an out and out front rower. And I felt like he played like that. And the fact that he had 70 post contact, the next closest to him was Bizza. So Brian Toto with 59. That's how good Isaiah Yeo was in contact. And I'm trying to look at Queensland. They didn't, no one came close to that. The closest was Patrick Carrigan with 61 post contact. That just shows you how good Isaiah Yeo was. And that's off the bench too.
Awesome off the bench though, because he is such a mobile front row and he's playing that position. And you touched on it, but it's the play the ball speed. His ability to find his front. Because he is a more agile, mobile front rower. His just ability to get in between defenders. He gets in between them every time, gets to the deck, up, gone, done.
So good. So I'm glad that he's found his spot in this side, because I do feel like there was quite a big push just to go, well, he's played 13 and it hasn't worked in Origin, but I just think the style of 13 he plays doesn't really suit Origin because it's such a quick pace. And I feel like because when he plays 13, he ball plays a little bit. That time he usually has at club, it's just not there in Origin. And that's where Paddy Carrigan really exceeds in Origin because he doesn't ball play as much and he's all just front foot footy. And that's why I think Isaiah Yeo in the front row, like, I think he's a must pick every year now. I really think he's been great.
Is he the Blues? I mean, he's basically the Blues skipper this year. Would he be the Blues skipper next year as well?
I think Cleary will come back in, but I just don't know where he fits.
Yeah, how do you fit them all in?
I don't know.
Luai's been so good as well.
I don't know, because how could you drop Luai?
Yeah.
How could you drop Moses?
Well, you're going to need
Nathan will
another
be
2
there.
hours.
Nathan will be there.
Yeah, it'll have to be.
What do you reckon?
I
What
think
about
what you're
Nathan
saying
at
with
14?
Yowie and his adaptation there,
Yeah.
but like obviously his strength is his ball playing,
Yeah.
but as a middle in an Origin, like you said, he probably enjoys the freedom a little bit. As a middle, he can just worry about getting a quick play the ball, which he does better than anyone. He always finds his front.
Always.
And if he's needing a little tip on every now and then, he can still come up with that. So his thought process would be so much clearer. His role is so much more simple. And he's obviously got Cam Murray there to tag team, which he does all his dirty work for him too. So you're right. Those mobile middles in big games, obviously you need a Payne Haas as your alpha male.
Yeah.
But if you get these type of guys with leg speed and footwork around them, it's the best dynamics in an Origin for sure. The way the modern game is.
Yeah. Oh, it's changed so. Like how fast the game is these days. Watching it's just
Good watch
crazy.
on the sideline.
Mate, Connor Watson, I thought he was great off the bench. Mitch Barnett also great. I thought Reece Robson played really well, got fatigued, and that's when you started seeing those couple of penalties. And then obviously Connor Watson came in. But the period before he got fatigued, so like 50 minutes in, I thought, especially that first 20 minutes, his defence was unbelievable, Reece Robson in the middle.
Robson was fantastic. As you said, like they pulled him off potentially 5 minutes too late, but it was nothing overly detrimental.
No.
But he was tremendous, and I think, as I said it before, but I love the art of selecting a bench in any level of footy, but especially State of Origin footy. And Kempy, it's dominated so much of our chat throughout this series, leading into games, following games, and I thought it played a huge factor in the result in this game. And we look at Connor Watson, who came on for us, and all right, he was our utility there. If anything was to happen to a backline player, he'd slot in there. Not an out-and-out sort of back five player, but you can change things around, and you leave yourself a little bit light on for an out-and-out outside back. But the Blues went for a 4-forward bench, and in a game played at breakneck speed, the physicality of it. He came on, and it's hard not to say that he wasn't the difference in the last 15 minutes as that fresh body. And you compare it to the Maroons, who went with Kalen Ponga there. And we said it leading into the game that it was a high-risk, high-reward move from Billy Slater, because when he first came on, they were attacking our line, and I think it was 4-2 at the time to the Maroons, or maybe we scored. He was the exact person you wanted, because all right, fatiguing the game, let's go, what's Ponga got? But at the same time, your forwards who had to play long minutes because you had Ponga on the bench and two hookers in Grant and Hunt, it left a big job to do for the forwards. And they were gassed in the back end of that game. Ponga came on, and Mitch can speak about it more because he spoke about it during coverage, about 16 tackles in 29 minutes in the middle, and he missed 6 in that time. And I'll throw to you, Mitchy, but he was caught out a little bit.
Well, you just touched on it. There's in the selection to get a smaller body, a fullback half to play lock. There's the good and the bad. The bad is when you don't have possession, they've got to turn up defensively. The good, obviously, is the dream. Is he's coming in, he's setting up plays, and you see the brilliance of Kalen Ponga. But unfortunately, the situation tonight for KP, he obviously fell off a few tackles, and for him, he's come back for one game. He's a fullback, but played a little bit of 6. He's an out-and-out superstar fullback. So to play in the middle defensively is a big ask. And as we just said, it's a roll of the dice from Billy. I think they had to do that with the players that they haven't had available in the middle. He needed to try something, and I spoke about it before the game. Queensland were going to come up with some sort of curve ball. Kalen was their curve ball. Unfortunately tonight, well, fortunately for New South Wales, it worked for us. But I felt for KP. Like, it's a hard job for him. And playing in the middle and defending and being around different bodies, it's a hard skill to learn. And especially when you've only come off one game, and then to get thrown in an Origin when you're not winning possession. big ask.
And that's it. And I'm not even critical of Billy for doing it. Like, I was all for the move and having the X factor of having this superstar and Kalen Pong come off. But the way that the match did end up playing out, it proved pivotal.
Yeah, I think that in the selection of like all the selections of Kafusi to start, Fodawaker to start, Capewell playing, I think they were all the right calls. I think the KP call, it didn't work out for us. I think it ended up being the wrong call.
Who else do they go with though?
I think
hindsight.
I think in hindsight, well, you look like Paddy Carrigan played 80 minutes in the middle, which is hectic. I think, and this is hindsight speaking, because I'm saying when he did select him, I agreed with it. Like, so I'm not sitting here saying, I know. I'm just saying, looking back on the game and the state we're in, like, when he did come on, there were moments where he kind of broke the line, but I felt like we were already kind of getting on top of him and we had enough ball playing on the edges. Yeah. And I just don't know if it worked as well as, it didn't look like it gelled as quickly as I think Billy maybe would have hoped it would, because it didn't look smooth. It looked like he was just getting one off the ruck kind of ball. Yeah. Granted, he didn't have that much opportunity. Like, it's just the fact that, you know, if you miss 6 tackles in that short amount of time, even though that not all missed tackles are equal and stats can be different, but, you know, there was that penalty. It wasn't necessarily him, it was Harry Grant that pushed him. But then later in that same set, I think Dylan Edwards stepped in and made a little half break. I think that was the one play that just didn't work for us this time. And that's me speaking in hindsight, because as I said, when he selected it, I agreed with the Billy Slater's selection of Kalen Ponga on the bench. And it's hindsight speaking.
With you. Yeah. Hindsight. So no knock. You look at it now, and a bloke I was advocating for, Beau Fermor, just to have another bloke there who can play middle, edge, and I'm not even going to say play centre at a pinch. He's getting picked as a centre for the Titans at the moment. Like, they've got a little bit of a shortage, but he's shown he can do it. If they had another out-and-out middle/edge to come on and play in the back end of their game, take a few minutes off Paddy Carrigan, whoever it might have been, it would have helped.
Because, like, I think Curdy Capewell was like the edges of Queensland were phenomenal. Like, the fact that we didn't leak more points is like crazy. At one point, it was in the first half, it was 60-40% possession to New South Wales, and as we said, 22 in our end and 3 tackles in their end. So actually, as I said, I think the changes to put Kafusi on for the first 20 to take that initial brunt, I thought that was a genius move. I thought Fodawaker to start, and the Fodawaker to start, I actually disagreed with that. I didn't think that was the right call. That ended up being the right call. I thought Ruben Cotter to the edge initially, I thought that was the right call. So I reckon he made like 85 to 90% of Billy Slater's calls were correct, but the KP one just did not work, I think, the way that I think we would have hoped it would.
And the funny thing is that, so we see in so many Origin games and NRL games these days, because of the speed the game's played at, because of how finely tuned athletes are, there's injuries all the time. If there's an injury to anyone in that back line, he's a genius.
Yeah,
so
like in game one. It's like in game one. Exactly. And also, like Michael Maguire, if a centre goes down or an outside back goes down, like, it's a risk either way. Like, if you go forward bench and a centre goes down and then Hammer just fucking puts a clinic on Connor Watson out in the centres, we'd all be sitting here going, Madge, why didn't you put a bloody outside back on the bench? So it was just one of those things where Madge took a gamble and it paid off and they killed it, and Billy took a gamble and unfortunately it just didn't.
Yeah.
Just didn't.
I think he needed a bit of cover there as well. Reece Walsh looked a little bit underdone, limping around a little bit, or, you know, like he was carrying maybe a bit of an injury as well. So maybe he needed a bit of cover there for...
Not hindsight, because I was saying in the game, when Reece was like hobbling around in that, I would have just put KP straight on. I know that that's a drastic move and it would have looked like I'm hooking Reece Walsh, but I was, and you guys can all attest, I was saying it when it was happening. Yeah. Because as soon as you're hobbling and you're not right to go, if I've got KP on the bench, I'm getting him on there straight away. And I'm asking Reece, are you 100%? If he says no, I'm boom, straight off. But that's, again, like, I'm not in the fucking coach's box making that call.
Was that a period in the game too? Queensland needed points.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that they looked very dangerous in attack all game.
Yeah.
I know they were on the back end of possession and 60-40 possession that you just spoke about. So we highlighted a few of Kalen's defensive misses, and it was unfortunate that he came on at a time when New South Wales sort of took the possession up, I suppose. But at the same time, Kalen needed to be out there if there were any chance of winning from an attack point of view. I don't think they were throwing enough at New South Wales leading into that point. And you spoke about a Bo Firma. He's not going to help their attack to score points.
Yeah.
He
Good
might,
point.
so yeah, it's when you lose, you cop it. When you win, that's just the way
It's
it
all
is.
hindsight. It's all easy. It's
sure.
it's easy to sit here and pick apart. Should have done that. Should have done this. So look, it is what it is. Anything else on the Blues, boys, before we get to the Queensland and we'll go, like with the Blues? I know it's a series win. It's incredible, like an amazing series win. But it is like what happens next year. You've got a captain that played 23 minutes. You've got Nathan Cleary, one of the best halves we've seen in a very long time.
Trebojevic, Latrell.
Trebojevic. Like it's a lot of decisions and pressure that will be.
It's a good decision.
Isn't it?
But at the same time, I do feel like if one thing that New South Wales has been almost a blessing and a curse is like having sometimes too many people to choose from, and it makes it like when you select one guy, it doesn't work out, then there's all this pressure. Whereas like with Queensland, sometimes when you select someone and it doesn't work out, a lot of Queensland fans go, well, we didn't really have anyone else to fucking put there anyway. Yeah. Going forward, do you think Madge rolls into game one? And I know this is a very long time away and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But do you think he rolls into game one, Mitchell Moses, Jerome Luai, and maybe Cleary at 14? What do you reckon? What do you reckon does?
Nathan's the man for me.
Okay.
And I've just given Mitch Moses the ultimate compliment and what a player he is and how much his legacy's gone up after winning this series. But for me, Nathan's still number one. If you're asking me who the best halfback is. They play different styles. To be honest, it's the style Mitch is playing though with the length of his kicking game. He kicks the ball longer than Nathan.
Yep.
And his short moments, his instincts are better in a different way. But yeah, for me, Nathan's the best player, the best 7 I've seen in 20 years, and Nathan would be my man. But there's that many injuries and form changes and everything. But it's just a great position for New South Wales to be in. That if one of those great 7s go down, we've got another one to come straight in, which we haven't had all the time.
Yeah.
So we're in a great position.
Yeah, I don't want to take any shine off the boys' performance tonight in this series because it was phenomenal. But fully fit, Nathan Cleary's there, Tom Trebojevic is there, Latrell Mitchell is there. I'm not even thinking twice about it, even after the hype of that, because they're 3 of the best footballers in the world, and there's a spot in our team for them. I mean, Latrell Mitchell, he did in game 2. They're all there.
Throw them all in there.
Yeah,
Mate,
get them
run
all.
out with bloody 17 on the field, have 5 on the bench. Brian Toto once again. What I liked is some of his decision in defence. He doesn't get enough raps for how good he is in defence, but his reads in defence and his contact very rarely gets bumped off. I thought he was for me personally, he's already one of the greatest wingers that ever played the game. And at the moment, he's probably going to go down as the greatest winger of all time.
There are a couple where Reece Walsh got his 3-on-2, and my heart sunk, we're done. And Bizarre shot in and just chopped down and just ended the play. It went remarkable. He had us, Walsh.
Yeah. Just
genius.
Brian Toto, he is probably. I mean, you've got Brett Morris that was such a well-rounded winger. I'd say Brian Toto is up there in regards to being well-rounded. We didn't even notice how good he was in the game. He ran for 154 metres from 16 carries, 60 post contacts, 6 tackle breaks, 10 tackles, 0 misses on the wing. You know how hard that is on the wing, making those decisions with all that space around you. Incredible performance from Brian Toto. Dylan Edwards, I don't think we've actually spoken about him that much, but that's another thing. Madge made the really tough call to go with Edwards to drop his captain in Teddy. Obviously, Teddy played game 1. It's a huge call, and it's paid off. He wins in the decider. He won man of the match, didn't he, Edwards?
Yeah.
So the guy, the biggest call, the biggest selection call of the series by far, and he wins player of the match in the decider, and that's all from a ballsy call from Michael Maguire. That's huge.
He's just got an unbelievable temperament, doesn't he? I don't know him well, but he just looks like he lives his life so organised because he plays his football so organised. All the little 1%ers just go unnoticed. You just expect it from him, don't you? You never see him come up with anything erratic. It's just like if he comes up with a mistake, you get blown away because that's the standard he's set. He's an out-and-out winner. And he'd be so good to play with because, as I said, he's just such a tidy player. I reckon it's the best way to put it. He's tidy in everything he does, doesn't make errors, and he just turns up in the big moments. Great temperament and just an absolute champion.
And
I just think that sorry, Timmy.
no, you're right, mate.
If you went back and watched some of his early footy when he debuted, and someone said to you in 5 years' time, he's going to win player of the match in a decider up at Suncorp where they haven't won in 19 years, you would have genuinely been laughed out of the room. Like you would have been like, mate, you don't know anything about rugby league. But it's a testament to Dylan Edwards, similar to Mitchell Moses. Obviously, Mitchell Moses came in at a much higher level. Dylan Edwards coming in, like, he was just a good NRL player, and he has just worked on his game like no one else. Like, his improvement from 5 years ago to now, it's one of the most improved players in the last 5 years. I cannot express to you. There was one night where I reckon he dropped genuinely 4 bombs, just straight cold drop bombs. And Ivan Cleary stuck with him. Dylan Edwards stuck. Like, put it this way, it was only like at the start of this year where we were all sitting here going, I don't think he's origin standard. Really good at club, good toiler, and yet within this space, we're all sitting here going, player of the match in a decider.
I must have missed that game. I've hardly seen him make an error.
No, this is 5 years ago. It's a long time ago. He hasn't done it in a very long time.
The best thing about Dylan Edwards for me is just it's his stat sheet. When a fullback wins man of the match in Origin, you go, all right, they've scored a try, they've set him up or done this or that. This is Dylan Edwards. 0 tries, 0 try assists, 0 line breaks, 0 line break assists. Straight away, if you said that before the game, you go, man of the match, a fullback, no thanks. 27 runs, 242 metres, 7 tackle busts. He had an offload, 5 tackles, 0 errors, diffused, countless bombs. As you said, he's organised, he's no nonsense. There's nothing flashy about him, which is a very rare thing for a fullback in the modern game. He just goes out there and does his job, and he couldn't have done it better tonight.
It's a great lesson for any kids out there that if you're an outside back and you're growing up and you're looking at Reece Walsh or you're looking at Tommy Turbo and you're going, I just don't have those physical attributes. How can I ever be like Reece Walsh or a Tom Dravojevic or a Latrell Mitchell? Look at Dylan Edwards. He would have been exactly the same, and yet he's worked his ass off, and hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, baby. That's what I'm saying. So, like, any young fella out there that thinks that you need to be, run 10-5 in 100 or be able to bench press, be 6'4", look at Dylan Edwards. No, you don't. You need to work your fucking ass off and be fitter than any other player on the field.
Well, a little insight into him from players that have played with him. They do a 100-metre test in pre-seasons. A lot of the teams do it now where you run up and back, and it's continuous for 4 minutes. Don't count me for it, but it's something like that. They reckon he's the best. Like,
really?
If you put him in any team in the competition, it'd just blow everyone out of the park. So you talk about beep test, yo-yo test, but it's a similar test to that. And they reckon he's the best. And I've heard from players that have played with him. So I think that in itself is a bit of an insight to him. He's obviously got a huge fitness base, which is why he's always going to be so composed in big moments, because he's just got that work ethic, as you said. And it's great to watch players like that because, as you said, Walshy and these guys have got all the flair and that superstar nature, but this guy's an out-and-out superstar, but he's done it the hard way, I suppose, through hard work and grind, and it's an inspiration, isn't it, really?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that it's like Billy Slater, obviously greatest fullback of all time. He had all the flair and everything like that, but I always say Billy Slater's most underrated and I think his most potent weapon was his fitness, and more specifically, his repeat speed fitness. Because you can have all the flair in the world, but if you're not fit enough to be there 10 times out of 10 times, you're not going to be there for the opportunity. And Dylan Edwards is so fit that, okay, can Reece Walsh throw a cutout ball, left to right and beat 5 players? Yes, he can. But when when the game needs a bloke to stand up and be there in the moment where 9 out of 10 blokes won't be, Dylan Edwards can be there.
A good example tonight, Kempy. Let's compare him to Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, who
gassed.
This is not a knock on Hammer. It's more a reflection on Dylan Edwards and that fitness that we've just spoken about. But Hammer twice, he came up with the defensive lapse for the Mitch Moses try, being lazy from mark. Lazy, but also he was gassed. And then not long after, the ball lobbed in his hands, he had open space in front of him, and he just went, I'm gone. I couldn't do it. And he mentioned Billy, repeated efforts like that at speed. Hammer was gone.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on Hammer. Most people would be, but it's a credit to Dylan Edwards who just goes and goes.
And also, the thing about fitness, it's the most honest thing of rugby league because you can't just naturally be fit at that level. Obviously, there are people that can. You can get guys like Reece Walsh or whatever that for some reason their hand-eye coordination is just better than everyone else's. Whereas fitness is the most honest thing you can do because there's no shortcuts. It's all hard work. It fucking sucks. No one enjoys it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Dylan Edwards so great. So incredible from New South Wales. What an incredible win. And I tell you what, the beautiful thing for New South Wales is here's a foundation to build something off. You've set a standard, you've set a culture, something to believe in, and you've got a youngish squad. It's exciting. It's exciting. Payne Haas, relatively young. Reece Robson, relatively young. Angus Crichton, still plenty more footy in him. You know, like across the board, it's not like you've got an ageing side that's going to age out. It's a very exciting time for New South Wales. Before we get to Queensland, just quickly, don't forget Monday, green and gold. The Olympics are here. Get around your country. We've got the green and gold spray jackets. We've got the green and gold hoodies. You can for the rest of your life, you've got your green and gold hoodies sorted. We've got the green and gold T-shirts as well, green and gold bloke shirts. Plus, we've got the green and gold hats returning 6 p.m. Monday. Go to bloke.shop. And make sure to be there. Very limited supply. Once these are gone, we will not be restocking these. Also, we've got a survey. Go to the link in the show notes because once you do the survey, it takes 2.5 minutes. It's really, really quick. It helps the show a lot. But all you got to do is fill the survey out and you go into the draw to win one of two $500 cash prizes. That's right. We're giving $1,000 in cash away. You just got to fill it out and you'll be one of the lucky ones. Also, massive shout out to Sportsbet, friends of the show. Menu log as well. Use code HOPPERWADI for $7 off your menu log fee this week. That's right, HOPPERWADI, $7 off. And a massive thank you to KO. KO's got you covered this footy season for every game of every round, live and ad break free during play from now until round 24. Broncos games that are exclusive to Fox League available on KO, so don't miss them this weekend when they take the Knights on. Some key games this week are Storm vs Roosters, Panthers vs Dolphins, exclusive to Fox League available on KO. Alrighty, let's get into the Queensland side. I think that obviously there are going to be points in the match that they're going to look at and go, geez, we stuffed this up, and we've already spoken about the Reece Walsh not staying down, Selwyn Cobbo being up direct, and you know, we can look at those points. But from an overarching kind of view, I don't think, like, I wouldn't be too concerned from Queensland perspective. They showed a ton of heart, a ton of grit. With everyone fit coming back into the side next year, I don't think it's going to be like panic stations where it's like, oh, well, you know, we had our full strength side, we need to rebuild going forward. No, I think that heading into next year, you've got your Tinos, your Fleglers, your Gilberts, your Xavier Coates, your Talungis, your Munsters, that will all be available to selection. So although extremely, extremely disappointing, I don't think it's... I think that most of Billy Slater's selections were correct. I think that most of their game style was correct. I just think it was an incredibly good New South Wales side that they ran into this series.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The players that were out for Queensland is what they need back in. I think if you looked over the course of the series, I think we were bigger and more powerful as a New South Wales team. And in key positions, I think we're pretty neck and neck. Obviously, Mitchie Moses and Jerome got the nod the last two games, but Cherry and Dearden themselves, I think it's pretty neck and neck with Walshy and our back three and that type of thing. But yeah, the players that they've got out, obviously Munster's a huge in, no doubt. But the middles, they need middles back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that would be the wash up from a Queensland perspective, is that we were out muscled and out powered, and that was purely through size of New South Wales. So Queensland needs some big bodies back, no doubt, moving forward. And it's a way for New South Wales going forward, because if they do get those players back and the effort they showed tonight, like they were unbelievable around desire and effort tonight. Yeah. Just the big bodies, in my opinion, let them down in the end.
Yeah, like I can't be super critical of them, Rones. They were outplayed, and I think by a better team this series. And as you said, out-muscled, out-powered through the middle of the field. And mate, the way they defended in that first half, when we had relentless cracks at their line, we had a few half chances, but they didn't give us many great chances. Every decent chance that we got where we sort of half did get you on an edge and have a bit of a line break, your scramble defence was fantastic. You know, you ran out of steam late in the game, but I sat there at half time. In one sense, through the whole game, I felt weirdly confident for the Blues. I'm like, oh, we've seen this before and it could go wrong, but the way the game played out, I felt good. I thought the momentum had to turn at some point. I'm like, footy games don't go 80 minutes of one team with all the possession, all the momentum. It has to turn. A few calls will go against us. They just didn't really. And that's a credit to the Blues. But for the Maroons to hang in it for as long as they did and lead for a good, decent part of the match, I thought it was an awesome effort. There were key areas, which I'm sure we'll touch on very shortly. We've mentioned a few already, which they'll rue big time. But, mate, I think they can hold their heads high coming out of it.
Yeah, when you actually look at the discipline area, the amount of penalties they gave away, the outs that they had, I thought they did incredibly well to hang in it. And that defence in the first half, it's the best I've ever seen, to be honest.
I thought there was a lot of ticker show in the first half. I was very impressed. I think we all were with Tommy Dearden, particularly in the first half. I thought he just tackled his ring off. He was so good.
The line breaks, the half line breaks, he was so good.
He was just sort of popping up everywhere. But, I mean, an under-strength Queensland side, as we sort of touched on a few times, showed plenty of ticker. And I think it just came down to they just got worn down, ground out. And the Blues just had a little bit more in the tank by the end of it, probably a little bit better balanced. And, that we've spoken a little bit about the Blues bench and what have you. But I think they showed, until the 65-minute mark, it really could have gone either way. And, they just showed so much ticker. Just on Dearden as well, like Moses, when he went through to score that second try to probably seal it, he was the one guy that kind of came through and made the play to kind of knock the ball out. He just didn't really stop, and I'm sure that's the sort of effort that they'll be kind of pointing out and going, that's a Queensland moment. That's kind of what we're after going forward. I thought he had a huge game.
Mate, Dearden was
so
phenomenal.
sensitive when Queensland lose, aren't we, compared to West? I'm just sitting there listening going, if this was New South Wales, we're bagging everyone. And we're still here talking about Queensland coming up with all these heroic moments. Is it just me or is it?
Well, mate,
it happens every year. We lose and we're terrible. And when Queensland lose, we're giving them sympathy.
Well, mate, Kempy's my
Maybe
boss.
I'm just bitter, but...
Oh, mate. Look,
Kempy's my boss, so I've got to be nice to him. Bloody oath.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Well, if it was the Blues loss, Madge's head, he'd be done.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah, I like
that's
it.
you blokes, though. That's not us. We don't do that.
Credit to you. It's credit to how you do it up there.
You've just won and you want
Because
to
we are ruthless down here.
You've always just won and you want to change your halfback.
That's why I'm trying to get a gig on here, boys. Hold on to the past.
We don't settle for wins, mate. We want more.
Yeah, I thought Dearden, especially because he was quite poor game 2. And I just think that tackle on Liam Martin early to dislodge the ball, because that's how Liam Martin scored early in game 2, was a short line on his inside shoulder, and Dearden just fully committed to it. And I thought the commitment of defence from Queensland early on, like you could see that they were the smaller bodies trying to make an impact in New South Wales, and you could see with New South Wales just withstanding, withholding, like almost just, I guess, understanding that it's going to be like this, but eventually they're just going to roll over the top, and that's what happened. But I thought Dearden was good. I got to say, though, Paddy Carrigan for me was genuinely, like, he was my Queensland man of the match, Paddy Carrigan. 80 minutes. In the game that we just watched, Paddy Carrigan just played 80 minutes. He had 16 runs, 150 metres, 61 post contact. He had a tackle break, 61 tackles, only 2 misses, and no errors.
Wow.
Like, incredible performance from Paddy Carrigan in such a, like, no good ball, essentially. No good ball. All shit, tough carries, and he just kept turning up.
He's just an Adonis, isn't he? And you expect nothing less from him. He does it every Origin game, and in recent years you've probably seen with a bit more Maroons dominance, he does it on the front foot. But as you said, Kempy, it takes a very special front rower or middle forward in this case to be able to do it on the back foot, and he still did it.
It's crazy.
And he said, I would have expected nothing less from him.
He's just made for Origin. Like, he's just made for Origin. It's unbelievable. In regards to, so we've already spoken about it a little bit. I thought that the mass changes before kickoff, I was a bit like, I mean, I understood them, and I was like, oh, shit, like, I'll be worried here. But I actually think that, for the most part, they were pretty brilliant from Billy. Pretty brilliant. What do you think, boys? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, I liked them.
Did you like them when they happened? Or did you like them after seeing it kind of
I
work
did,
out?
mate. Particularly the Nanai to bench, I liked. Like I've said before, and I've been pretty vocal about it. I've been very critical of Jeremiah Nanai defensively. We know he's probably one of the best attacking edge back rows in the game, but defensively, he's got...
Well, unfortunately, like, although he was good,
Mate, he cost you the try.
Yeah, that was
game.
his footwork. He should have been kept moving when the ball's on
And
the deck.
unfortunately, mate, he does it week in, week out at NRL level with defensive lapses, and not just reads, but contact is rarely that good, and it found you out tonight. And it's not to say there's a spot for him in the Maroons Origin team, but I hate him in that first 20 minutes of games because defensively he's not as good as what they did. Put Cotter to an edge, they put Kafusi to a middle. Spoke to you boys, I thought maybe that they might go Kafusi, who's spent basically his whole career on the edge, moved to the middle this year for the Dolphins, been named on the edge for the Dolphins this week. Cotter, who's more of a middle, but it just shored him up defensively massively. I would play moving forward if they want to pick Nanai, just in a lesser minute, X-factor bench role. I don't think he needs to play big minutes because I don't think you want him fatigued and defending under fatigue.
Well, I think we forget with Nanai, he's 21.
For sure.
21, 22. I think that, if I'm Billy, I'm saying the back end of the season, mate, I want you to work on your defence. I want you to come back into this squad next year as one of the best defensive back rowers in the competition because he physically has the ability to do it. But I agree with you. I think that, Smithy, he said in the podcast years ago, and it's such a good insight that, in big moments, usually all the bad habits you have leading up to that, that's what happens. Very rarely do you play a whole season and all these bad habits kind of get picked up and then you get into the big moment and you just somehow make it work. Very rarely that happens, and I think with Nanai, we saw with that line break, unfortunately, it was just a bad habit. He lost concentration, wasn't thinking in the game, lost his communication, didn't keep his foot, because the ball hit the deck. They should have been up, and as soon as Luai got the ball, he should have been tackled. So yeah,
and those moments that you're talking about, it's not here or there at club level. It's been every week for him, for the Cowboys, and they came through tonight.
The four-man defender's everything, isn't it? Club footy and in big games. One-on-one defending, the one-on-one tackle from back rolls. And you use the New South Wales back rolls as examples. I think they were the biggest reason, along with what we spoke about with Mitch Moses' kicking game. I think they are one of the biggest reasons we got the series done because of their efforts. With kick pressures, their efforts to make one-on-one tackles without misses. You spoke about Mitch Barnett before, hardly missing a tackle. He came on the edge. But it's their footwork and their ability to make those one-on-one tackles. Yeah, you can get help and support around you, but when you're in that four-man position, you're isolated and you're under pressure a lot of times, as you just touched on with Smithy's comment. And in Origin, it's multiplied by 10. And if you haven't got that consistency and the footwork into contact at club level, it's probably going to have a hangover effect. But,
tough for the big fella because I felt like for most of the game he's really, really good. It was just that one moment slips off and that happens. And look, he's so young. I think he's gonna as he develops in a few years' time, we're gonna be like, this guy is a monster in the Origin arena.
how old is he?
He's 21 or 22.
Is he?
Yeah. He's young as super, super young. Got such an incredible future.
Yeah, 21.
I think I got to say, I was against the Kurt Capewell starting. I mean, even in the side, I was a bit surprised, but starting, I thought Kurt Capewell shored up that edge. And look, don't get me wrong, we did mention we felt the reason why he was selected and starting was because of that reason, his defence and shoring up with his communication, with his line speed. I thought Kurt Capewell was a masterstroke from Billy Slater on that edge because they completely shored his edge up.
Yeah, and he copped a fair bit of criticism in Game 2, being put out there in the centres, which is... he can do a job there, but it's obviously not his preferred position. We just talked about back rolls and being great one-on-one defenders, and he is that.
Yeah.
And I think he's a great player, Kurt Capewell. He's another one that's played in huge big games and big moments. He's played in grand finals and lots of big Origin games now. He's a player you trust.
And we look at the Maroons who, they picked a very attacking side, very electric side. That was one selection that wasn't. It was Kurt Capewell over Dave Fafita.
Well, him and Kafusi essentially were defensive selections.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and change my mind and say they shouldn't have picked Dave Fafita. I'm still picking him even in hindsight. Said it before, I'll say it again.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But in a highly aggressive attacking side, they picked Capewell to shore up the edge. He did that exact job. They don't need Kurt Capewell and their edge back row to score points when you've got Reece Walsh there, when you've got Daly Cherry Evans, Harry Grant, Ben Hunt. points are going to come. So to go with defensive edge back rows, they didn't in Nanai's example, but with Catewell they did. He did his job perfectly.
Yeah. See, I think that I personally think that for the Capewell over Fafita selection was justified with how good Capewell played. I think that if Fafita was out there for the minutes that Capewell was out, I think that we probably do leak a trial.
Possibly, but you also don't necessarily need, like, people just assume David Fafita and defensive lapses, whatever it is. I'm still yet to see it as much as it's been made out. He doesn't have to play 80 minutes. He can play off the bench, and at the same time, you didn't score a try. David Fafita is the best attacking back row in the competition.
You reckon that he would have changed that field position for us?
Mate, you had a few cracks down the line. You didn't really look like cracking us. Dave Fafita, with his offload and with how devastating runs he can create stuff from anywhere, I would have had Dave Fafita.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had Nanai and he couldn't do it, and he's an incredible attacking back row.
Nanai will have 6-7 runs a game. Dave Fafita will have 18 to 20 runs a game. Dave Fafita, for 2 years on the trot now, has also been doing dirty work in attack, coming out of his own end, momentum shifter. I think it was hardly done.
See, I would have selected Fafita before. I mean, I've said that. I would have selected Fafita before, but I think Capewell ended up being the right decision.
And I'll tell you that, I think when Kurt Capewell is running that lead run and you've got Reece Walsh going out the back, who's attracted more defenders to give Walsh space, Fafita or Capewell? Fafita's tearing their defenders are just looking, they've got eyes on Fafita, Walsh goes, thank you.
I don't think they had that much opportunities for that to be a concern. I think they were so they had 3 tackles in their 20 in the first half. Like,
he had more in the second half, but.
And so I don't know. I think Capewell, I think he showed it was a correct decision to select him, because I think that if we had Fafita and Nanai on that edges, or Cotter on one edge or whatever, I do think the communication of that 4 defender, we probably would have, with all that possession you guys had in the first half, I reckon you would have scored some more points there. But in attack, him coming out of our own end, obviously that would have been helpful for sure.
Yeah, David Fafita, as I just butted in a little bit there before about having him in the middle, I've been pushing that even at the Titans, sorry. I know he's not a out-and-out middle, but someone of his size, late footwork, and as you just said, a game breaker, coming on even for 20 minutes in the middle in an Origin, and just even getting him to roam. I've seen him even with those tries he scores, where he jumps out of dummy half and bumps blokes over, or just dropping blokes. So he plays a little bit unorthodox. So I think someone like him in your squad there, when you use Payne Haas as an example, he's always getting his front. Just someone like him, he's going to, I agree with you, he'll find something. Well, I think they need him in there. He's too big a superstar and offers too much not to have him in there, even if it is for 15, 20 minutes.
Well, Keon Koloamatangi's made, and there's differences in the comparison, but Keon's gone from edge to middle this season. He's playing the best footy of his career. I'm not suggesting David Fafita goes and plays 60 to 80 minutes in the middle. He couldn't do it. But as a bench option, coming on as a middle, as an edge, wherever it is, there's a place for him.
Well, as a middle, I think that's a different conversation. I think that
I also didn't say that I was starting him, though. I said I would have had him in my 7.
I've been calling for Fafita to the middle for like 3 years now. I said front row like friggin' 3 years ago. So I agree with you, mate. I like Fafita. Short stints in the middle. I agree with you. The concern I have is if he was going to be the Capewell replacement, because Capewell ended up playing, basically, 72 minute. So I just think that if you're going for like, those guys, like Capewell got selected over Fafita and Fafita would have been in there, I think Capewell showed that he could have. But if you had said to me, you know what, in hindsight, we dropped Ponga off the bench and we had Fafita there to come on for 20 minutes.
Well, that would be the option.
I reckon that would be.
If you're not going to have Kalen and play that link man attacking style, you'd have Fafita to come on, wouldn't he?
Yeah, just come on and wreak havoc through the middle for 20 minutes and get him off. Yeah, I can see that. And that's coming from
Well, it creates second phase too. Yeah. You'd break up a little bit of, next year.
It's going to be interesting to see. What do you reckon, Hammy?
I think he was hard done by. I would have had him in the squad, but would he have made the ultimate difference tonight? Not sure. I was just going to quickly talk about the 2 front rowers that they started in the end, Felice and Moe. I think that ended up, Timmy turned to me probably when Felice came off and goes, I think that probably worked. I think it achieved what Billy set out for it to do. I think it was just basically to shore up the defence, because they knew New South Wales were going to come out and really give it to them, and I think they did. It ended up being a pretty good move. It kept the game pretty tight. What did you reckon though of having those 2 start?
Yeah, we talked about that. I think that was a really smart call from Billy to bring those boys on. It just it's just a matter of it's really tough because you've got to look at that bench and you've got to ask yourself, because the talking point coming out of this will be David Fifita, because it was a huge talking point heading pretty much into every single game. And I guess the question will be heading into next year, you know, if he's playing the same as he is this year, and Billy Slater has been super firm about this. I mean, he wasn't even 18th man. Will it change? Like, does Billy need to re-look at, okay, there were certain things in his game I looked at defensively that, you know, maybe weren't the best. Does he need to go, okay, maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on those little areas, and I need to say, Fifita, you're actually not getting selected as an edge-back rower. You're getting selected as a middle forward. Well, you can play edge if you have to, but you're getting selected as a middle forward to play similar to Spencer Lenu when he comes on.
I don't think the wash-up of the game is we would have won if Fifita's playing. Like, at the end of the day, there was so many good things from Queensland in this game. We just spoke about their right edge back rower misses the tackle on Jerome, or allows him to go through. It's a moment. Mitch Moses comes up with a moment.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say out of the game of a wash-up, if Fifita's playing, we win that game.
Yep.
But I think for them moving forward, to get maybe a little bit more go forward, to create a little bit more second phase, put a bit more doubt in the opposition, someone of him for 20 minutes will benefit their team. He's not going to make them any worse, and he'll make them better. But I don't think you could say that if he's out there tonight that they win.
No, I don't.
I don't put it down to just that reason, the Ponga decision and then someone else was the reason they lost.
Yep.
I don't see it that way. I see it that it was a great arm wrestle and we came up with our moments.
If they're full strength, it's going to be interesting. Queensland full strength, the bench would let's say you'd start Tino, you'd start Cotter.
He's your big one. You know,
I miss him massively.
You get them into your team and it's a whole, the possession's completely different.
Yeah, and then you'd have Harry Grant, you'd have Flegler, Collins, and then you'd probably have. Then you'd have to make the decision: would it be an outside back at 17, or would it be a forward?
Mate, I said more than 12 months ago. Did Ponga miss Origin 1 last year and Walsh came out and killed it? Is that right? I think it was.
No, Walsh got selected over Ponga, and Ponga pulled himself out.
Walsh came, killed it, or haven't won the series. And you're all right, how do you fit these two in next year? And as soon as it did, I sat and I'm like, this sounds like a shit call, but when I'm putting that team together and I'm looking at it, and I think there needs to be a call made around Ben Hunt and Harry Grant, because you've got Harry Grant, who can play 80 minutes at hooker, one of the fittest hookers in the competition. You've got Ruben Cotter, who if Harry needs a spell, can slot in there and play 15 minutes there. You can pick your 3 forward bench and you can have Kalen Ponga on the bench without fear of being overpowered and out-muscled through the middle, which they were tonight because they were a bit light on in the bench. I know it sounds absurd. Like Ben Hunt's been one of the best for a long time. I get it. But when you look at that bench makeup, that's the one that suits me.
I think Harry Grant's a better player if he starts and builds the game too, isn't it? It's like having Cameron Smith there and rotating him around. In my opinion, I know Benny. I got the highest respect for Benny Hunt too, and I think him out there in Origin, he's one of their best. But I think to get the best out of Harry Grant, I feel like he's an 80-minute player, or at least
he's
at least a
60,
70-minute player.
Yeah, 67. I'm not convinced. The
In those
style
positions too, you need to, as a spine player, you need to be able to build the game. It must be frustrating for him to be rotating, and it'd be hard to find your mojo, wouldn't it?
I'm not convinced he's an 80-minute Origin hooker. I know he could do it, but he's so explosive, and he's what he's good at is his running game, getting out of hooker. And I just think that if you were to stretch him out for 80 minutes, similar thing would happen with what happened with Reece Robson, where he would start fatiguing, he'd start getting tired. Because like Reece Robson, he plays 80 minutes, I think, more often than Harry Grant does at club. And even he fatigued in this game. And so I think that although like Harry Grant probably hasn't had the best series, well, he didn't have the best series this series compared to his last series, I'm not too sold on breaking up the Hunt-Grant combination yet. It's been so dominant. It's just been one series where they just lost by, 10 points or whatever it was, by 10 points. I'm a bit reluctant to break up something that's worked that well, unless Ben Hunt is saying, look, I'm getting a bit older now, I'm a bit fatigued or whatever. I think personally, I would be making a tough call between either Reece Walsh is in the side or KP's in the side. At this stage, if I was selecting the side, it'd be Harry Grant, Benny Hunt, still rotation, and I'd be going, it's either Reece Walsh at fullback or KP, and then I'd have a 3-forward bench of, it'd probably be like Flegler, Collins, and maybe a Fafita or a Gilbert or something like that.
And the reason I say they can do it is I'm with you. I think Harry can go 80 in Origin. Maybe you can't. Maybe you play him 65. But because you've got Cotter there who started his career as number 9 and he can slot in and play 15 minutes there to give Harry a spell, I think you're sorted.
Yeah, it's just he hasn't actually played 9 in like a very long time, and I think he's only played like one game at 9 in first grade Cotter, even though he grew up playing it a little bit. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but I do think that if there is going to be a talking point, it'll be the Fafita talking point, because the argument will be, and it's an understandable argument. See, I don't think he would have made much difference in good ball going in, because I don't think we actually had that much opportunity. But if the argument that you have is that Fafita coming out of our own end could have broken the line, could have had offloads, I can understand that argument.
He's not known for that though, is he, Fafita? Yardage carries and getting busy.
He's been better.
He's been much better.
Put him in the middle, he's got no option.
Exactly.
That's why I love him, as you said. I love having him in the middle.
I've watched him very closely this year and
choice
last year. He's been taking tough carries coming out of his own end. Yeah.
He's biggest.
He's just a weapon, isn't he? Size-wise.
His biggest thing, as I said, if you have him on the edge in Origin, I just think it's his talk and it's all those little things that Kate Wood does really well. That's the one. Whereas if you just said to him, go mate, go in the middle, and I just need 15 minutes, like just go as hard as you can. Then I'm very on board. Just on the edge in Origin at this young age, he's only still only 22, 23. I think he's got similar to Nanai, to be honest. I know Nanai's a bit...
That's scary, and he's only 22, 23.
Yeah, still young. But it will be the talking point. Outside of that, I've got to say, we've already kind of spoken about, I thought DCE's kicking game, especially his mid to short, was not good.
There's a couple that went up that just didn't really, they just looked a little bit in between, didn't they?
Yeah.
They weren't really, it wasn't a big bomb, or it was just a little chip over the top, almost to no one. Same with some of his dropouts as well. They're just kind of going like 20 metres. Like
really very weird.
Really very not weird. Going, just not his usual dominant, what you come to expect from DC.
Well, you could make the argument, like, if his kicking game is as good as it usually is, we'd be way closer to winning the game then. Because, like, the amount of kicks that he put in there were just, unfortunately, just poor.
Yep.
If he had nailed them, maybe that's 6 points. We just don't know. So I thought DC's kicking game wasn't great. As I said, I thought Harry Grant, he was really good in defence initially, but in attack he took a few options. Like when KP came on, and he's fresh, and then he went the short side, but they weren't ready for it. Not the short side, but he went the right side. They weren't ready for it. A few decisions there.
Took one out and kicked it himself when KP had come back on.
Yeah. So there's a few decisions there, and that's where I think that they're probably going to look at and go, okay, KP coming on in the middle there, have we played enough footy together to make it a oiled machine just like that? He's such a dominant ball player, KP.
Yeah, well, the answer to that is they haven't, have they?
Yeah, no.
It was sort of, it's makeshift. Kalen's not used to that role. Like cohesion comes off playing together, and you could probably there's a good argument that Queensland haven't been able to create that this series, where New South Wales, especially over the last 2 series, have. So, and as you just said before, that comes out in big moments when you haven't got the cohesion, or you haven't played a whole lot of footy together, or there's changes to your roster from game to game through the series or during the game. It's just, that's what happens, doesn't it? And that's why we won.
Oh man, it hurts. But as I said, just to reiterate, like I was against Kurt Capewell getting picked. I thought he was great. I really thought he was good. He worked his absolute backside off. He short up that edge. Val on the wing, I didn't mind it actually. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was better than in the centres. I thought he was better than in the centres.
Yeah, well, genuine lack of opportunity for wingers in that side. With the lack of attacking ball they had, not a lot of opportunity for the wingers to sort of stand out, was there? But
like he had 3 offloads. He ran for 121 metres, 16 carries. I thought that although he was getting blockers helping him, some of those catches he took were fucking pretty amazing. I thought Val on the wing was pretty bloody good in Origin, to be honest.
Yeah, great.
Reece Walsh just didn't get much opportunity, to be honest. Just very hard to do something special when Queensland were just dominated in the middle, really.
When you don't have possession as a fullback and you're coming off your own line, you just nailed it. You can't do too much. he's a great little player and he's always busy, isn't he? So a bad game for Walsh. He's not coming up with the perfect pass or that perfect moment, that superstar moment. But he's doing lots of little things. There was plenty of times where he's getting on loose balls and putting himself in the picture.
Yep.
But it's probably a disappointing series for him in the fact that he's come off the back of a huge loss in game 2 and then not really able to inject himself in game 3. For his class and what he probably set out to do this series, it's probably frustrating for him. But, I thought he was... I just love watching him play because of how busy he is. Regardless of the score, regardless of what's going on, he puts himself in the picture. And that's not always going to be perfect. And as we just said, when possession's against you, it's hard for a fullback, but he's always in the game.
Yeah, certainly no lack of effort from Reece Walsh. He had an absolute crack tonight. Defensively, there was a set in the first half where we peppered the line and he made 3 really good try savers, just D'ing up on his own, which was quite impressive. We say with him often, he's the one bloke that you can give a little bit of leeway to making errors because of the speed he plays the game at and the amount that he pulls out in attack. Tonight was unfortunately one of them nights where, to start off, lack of opportunity. Huge lack of opportunity tackling out line where he does his best work, but there was a Lomax one where he jumped up and got taken out, we spoke about. Basically, the first crack the Maroons got in the Blues half.
Tackle like 2 or 1. He threw
it was the first tackle, and he threw that pass and turned it over. You just go, they're the ones you sit there and agonise over Reece Walsh because on another night that sticks and it's something brilliant, but wasn't his night. Had an absolute crack. Didn't get many opportunities at all.
He got lucky with that in goal, didn't he? His foot was out.
Yeah.
That was
I thought he was in.
From the touchy there.
Well, I thought
He was right
in.
there to the touch.
He's like a
He was
metre
right there.
away.
Maybe the goal post blocked his thing. I thought he was in until watched the replay and you saw his foot get touched. And I was like, geez, how do you miss
Thank
that?
God Cobbo decided to stay up the next tackle.
He's only 22 as well. You keep forgetting that about some
A lot of these boys, like your Fafitas, your Nanais, your Walsh, your Selwyn Cobbos, like they're the Hammer, like they're all really, really young
How good would
players.
it be to be 22 and Walshy?
Tough
good
life.
Mate, incredible life.
Yeah, you'd have done it right for yourself, mate.
Alrighty, so look, we just spoke about a few disappointing things. I'm sure Billy will go back and look at selection. Should Fafita be there next year? Could he be a middle forward? Could he be an impact player, 20 minutes off the bench? I think that'll be a big talking point heading into next year because it should be, like at the end of the day, Fafita's a beast and he has still been playing good footy. He has been playing good footy, and I think it's fair for it to be a topic of conversation because we just praised Michael Maguire for making the big call in regards to Dylan Edwards over Teddy, and we praised last year when Slater made the big call in regards to Walsh over Ponga. You've got to be critical too when he makes a call that's a huge call, but we don't know whether Fafita would have won the game, but it's still a question. Maybe he would have done something special. He's that kind of player. So it's fair. It's fair to ask that question, in my opinion. It's fair to have that critique, but tough loss for Queensland. But
just
definitely
quickly before we
proud.
move on, I did want to. I don't think you can understate Tommy Dearden in this game. You boys spoke about him earlier.
So good.
Mate, he was superb. I'm going through my notes from the game. His defence early on in it, he smoked Liam Martin, dislodged it, got the ball back. There was a one-on-one with Zach Lomax about 5 out from line where I go, Lomax finishes this every day of the week. Just got up in his face, stopped him point blank, saved that one. He had that clean-cut line break. Could have just about been the only line break of the game, which came out of nowhere. He had the try saver on Stephen Crichton as well, the one where Reece Walsh, poor boy, got done for the foul play penalty. But a terrific try save from Dearden on that one. Mate, he after a pretty ordinary game too by his standards as well, particularly defensively, I think he led a try through for Liam Martin. Dearden was outstanding.
Him and Paddy Carrigan were my man of the matches for Queensland. I thought they were phenomenal.
He's a very, very good origin player, isn't he, Dearden? And he's low. When you say low maintenance, he sort of just knows his role, doesn't he? He'd be a great foil for a 7, and I'm sure Cherry would have huge raps on him. And his show and go and his ability to get across the field with speed is nearly as good as anyone in the game.
Deceptively quick, hey?
Deceptive, yeah, and tough. And as you said, the tackles, the defence he came up with on Martin early in the game, he's a super player. And every game he's played for Queensland now, he's been top shelf.
Yeah, he's a battler. He's an absolute battler. All right. Devastating. I'm sure Billy will go back to the drawing board and look at some selections and can't wait to see. I mean, next year it just gets even better, doesn't it? Now Madge's a new coach. Billy, can he refine that form again after that 2 in a row? Whew, It doesn't get much better. Don't forget, guys, Monday, 6 p.m, the green and gold. Get around your country. Spray jackets, hoodies, shirts, hats. Also, in the show notes, survey. Takes 2.5 minutes, really helps the show. And you have a chance to win $500 cash. And also a massive thank you to Sportsbet, friends of the show. Give us a follow on the feed. Use code HOPPERWHITEY for $7 off your menu log this week.
Just very quickly on that, I was just going to say the 2025 market is up for State of Origin. In case you're wondering, New South Wales $1.65 favourites. The Maroons $2.25.
There you go.
What's it? Fafita, $2.80 for player of the series.
Mate, I would love nothing
You his
more.
manager?
I would love nothing more than Fafita to come and rip. Oh, man. Okay, that's us done and dusted. Thanks, boys, for joining us. And as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.